just have to make something absolutely perfectly clear. Roman Reigns, you my tribal chief. I love you, Roman Reigns. I know I've said it before, but I need to say it again because you just don't know what he's going to do. And he's so obsessed with being the head of the table. When he popped up on Survivor Series, he has new merchandise that basically says, hey, brah, I'm the head of the table. So, look, if I get offered a seat, I will sit there, I will be quiet, and I won't even say anything about the feud. You can feed me gruel, Mr. Reigns, and I will just accept it and smile. Just really want to be a part of the family. But let's not worry about that, and instead let's worry about the Survivor Series 2020, which is in the books, and maybe you liked it and maybe you hated it, but you're never going to know for sure until you watch me, Simon Miller, here on WhatCulture Wrestling with this, the finger of power. It controls all our opinions, and you thought you just had to tweet about it. No, you don't. But let's get into it, and let's up those downs for the latest iteration of the Survivor Series. So from nowhere this week, WWE just announced on social media, oh, by the way, on the pre-show, we're going to have a dual brand battle royal. And I was like, wouldn't it have been a good idea to, one, promoted this a little bit more beforehand, but also, two, given it some stakes? I mean, that would have been fun. I don't mean the steak that you eat, I mean some kind of purpose for existing. It's getting it down. And given that The Miz won too, you even could have put the Money in the Bank briefcase up for grabs. How fun would that have been over Raw and SmackDown the last few weeks? The Miz being all like, oh, I'm really scared about my briefcase, and just random people like, oh, I'm going to get the briefcase and I'm going to go to the office with my brand new thingamajig. Instead, he was just involved with weird programs with Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton, which didn't any pay off. I don't get it. And look, it was fine for what it was. It seemed like Dominic had won, which really entertained me, because Rey Mysterio was also in this, and now the son has surpassed his father, and that always happens when you have a kid. You can't beat father time. But then, yeah, it was like Miz pretended he was out the ring, that he wasn't, and then Dom thought he won, but he hadn't, so Miz threw him out, Miz won, who cares? The main show then started, and we were kicking things off with Team Raw versus Team SmackDown on the men's side, and loads happened here before anybody even locked up. I mean, AJ Styles' big tall friend is now called Omos, I think, and the commentator said that name like they've been saying it for weeks, even though they haven't, and everyone's been calling him the associate. Keith Lee has new music that goes Q3 a lot, but I really enjoyed it. And we are really doubling down on this whole Strowman Express nonsense as he comes out and pretends to be a train. But that annoyed me too, because we could have gone with the Braun boat, we could have gone with the Strowman ship, we could have gone with the Strowman steam train. I mean, I could do this all day. Not true. I don't have any more. These matches are always pretty good though, even though the build for this one has been a little bit hit and miss, especially because we had Sheamus, Riddle, Braun Strowman, Keith Lee, and AJ Styles taking on Otis, Jey Uso, Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and of course Baron Corbin. There is enough talent there to make this work, and it's getting it up. It also meant the interesting bit here is how do we separate this from other Team Survivor Series matches we've seen in the past? And the answer was feet. That's right, Kevin Owens and Riddle were in there, and of course Matt Riddle doesn't wear any shoes, so Kev was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go after your toes, including headbang them. I laughed. We also had some cool character stuff as well though, because Seth Rollins, when he got tagged in, turned to his team and went, it's for the greater good, whatever the hell that means, and he just got on his knees, and he told Sheamus to bro kick him right in the face, and he took the pin. So he sacrificed himself. Now I get it, some people are going, well that didn't make any sense. It's not meant to make sense. Seth is a crazy leader of a cult. What do you think he's gonna do? Come in here and start doing proper maths? Of course not, he's a loon. It's also been heavily rumored that he is now gonna take some time away from WWE to enjoy the birth of his child with Becky Lynch, which he should absolutely do. And yeah, I just sent all the positive thoughts to them. This sent Team SmackDown into turmoil because they're on the outside going, why the hell did that goof did that? When Braun Strowman went, rah, and ran and took them all down. He then turned to his own teammates and went, why can't I just get along and start acting like a team? And if anybody else had done this, it would have been properly motivating. But Braun Strowman talks like this for every single thing, so it meant nothing. Like, he'd come up to you and go, do you want to come round my house for dinner? You'd be like, I really, really don't. Owens was then dishing out stunners before he got caught with a phenomenal forearm and got eliminated. And that was kind of a shame because he disappeared during the build to this, and then he was just thrown out of here like he was nothing. And then Riddle got his revenge over Baron Corbin by hitting the floating bro. The commentators tried to act like this was a big deal, but who in the hell even remembers that? Owens then had his moment and he was throwing everybody around, including the likes of Braun Strowman and Keith Lee, and I just knew what was coming. WWE just signposted this stuff so much, I was like, oh, he's dead, he's about to be taken out. And then seconds later, after Riddle had kind of distracted him, Braun Strowman did grab him, gave him the running power slam, 1, 2, 3, goodbye to Otis. Why don't we want to push this guy better? It baffles my brain. He was the Money in the Bank holder like yesterday, and now he's just another dude. This did leave Jey Uso all by himself though, taking on the entirety of Team Raw, and I got so excited because I was like, oh my gosh, Jey Uso is going to start picking off Team Raw one by one, and then Roman Reigns is going to embrace him. He's going to be able to sit at the table, and his great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren now have the security they don't even know they need yet. Like at one point, it did seem like he was going to pin AJ Styles, but then Amas, whatever the hell his name is, made the save. But then, yeah, that was it. So Team Raw, clean swept, 5-0, Team SmackDown. It made the blue brand look so stupid, especially because the whole narrative here was that Team Raw can't get along, but then poof, by magic, they were able to do it. That was not a fun finish, it's getting a down. And don't get me wrong, it was still enjoyable, but you just wait until we get to Raw later on, it gets mentioned once, and then we head off in a different direction. What a waste of our time. And I bet like me, you'd already figured out they'd done that because WWE, when booking the whole show, had made sure that SmackDown wins the same amount of matches that Raw does, which makes the whole concept pointless. But then it was the Street Profits taking on the New Day, and they absolutely killed it. WWE obviously had leeway here as well because neither of the tag team titles were on the line, and also when it comes to Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, they have so much of a legacy and so much tenure now, they can lose and it doesn't make a difference. They're going to be top guys regardless. And that was proved because they came out here wearing their Gears of War outfits because the New Day somehow are downloadable content in Gears of War 5. And as Gears has come up, never forget it is one of the best games ever, and I mean that from the bottom of my feet. I don't know how this happened, but my word, it pleases me. Kinda sucked that Big E came out with them as well because it's just negated that emotional farewell they did a few weeks ago, but once again, who cares? I've got real problems to worry about. And then yeah, we got ding ding ding, the match started, and these four guys have great chemistry, and down the road, if you want to turn this into a proper feud, you bet your ass you can. There was a point when Ford did a sliced bread off of Dawkins, which made absolutely no sense, and they allowed the Street Profits to kick out of the midnight hour. But there was an even better twist to this, because the commentators were saying, oh, that's because Kofi usually does it with Big E, and now it's with Xavier Woods, so it's a different move. I like that it layered the whole thing, like cake. Look, it just built to a finish as joy ran down your face. Kofi went for the Trouble in Paradise, missed, so Montez Ford gave him one of his own. It was like, oh my gosh, he used his finisher. And the Street Profits did like a Doomsday device, but it was an electric chair and a blockbuster. It looked pretty damn badass. And they pinned the Raw Tag Team Champions. And now you really got to start building them up. And to do that, we need other teams. But it's WWE, so who the hell knows what they're going to do. But within this little bubble, absolutely great. And then amazingly, Sami Zayn lasted longer than 60 seconds with Bobby Lashley. I mean, that's an achievement right there. I genuinely didn't think this was going to go a minute, so when I checked my watch, I was like, we've done it. I started celebrating. Don't get me wrong, he still lost, but you got to take what you can get. I mean, it went 8 minutes. 8. Some people are happy with that time, you know, when they're in the sack. But don't get me wrong, it's still getting a down. The main problem is that despite being a brilliant wrestler, go watch Sami Zayn's match with Nakamura when Nakamura debuted on NXT, WWE has decided to make him a goofy character, and therefore in the ring, he also has to be a goof. And I don't get this. He's the flipping Intercontinental Champion. He can be a moron in his day-to-day life, but when he steps between these ropes, like Kurt Angle used to be, he should be a warrior, and he's just not. His whole shtick here was trying to get Bobby Lashley DQ'd by tripping over MVP's foot and then going, oh, why aren't you doing anything, ref? He looked like a flipping moron. And so yeah, really, he got beaten up for 6.5 minutes, trapped in the hurt lock, and he tapped out. Because of course he tapped out. He also came across at the babyface here, and I suppose you could argue that he is, because the Hurt Business are kind of bad guys, but because, you know, MVP and Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin were out the outside, it did feel like Sami Zayn was outnumbered, and it didn't feel very fair. All of this was very confusing and weird. So yeah, I just would have preferred it if it was a little bit more competitive, even though Bobby Lashley is the most protected person in all of WWE. But we always find the silver lining, and at least this time around, we didn't have to have anything to do with Bobby's sisters. If you know, you know. If you don't, never find out. And then, oh my gosh, Jey Uso was outside Roman Reigns' locker room and I started to sweat. I have never been so scared for anybody, not just on WWE TV, but TV in general. He was there with Jimmy Uso. I was like, oh, thank goodness he's got a bit of protection. But then Roman came out, and he was not a happy tribal chief. Because even though Jimmy tried to defend his brother, Roman went, nope, you leave. I am furious with you, Jay. Jay was like, man, it was 5-on-1. What did you want me to do? And he said, it was only 5-on-1 because your team didn't believe in you, they didn't listen to you, and they don't respect you. And if they don't respect you, they don't respect me. I mean, that's the equivalent of going 2 + 2 = elephant, but you don't mess with Roman Reigns. Whatever you say, dude, I believe you. So if you ever wanted to see a murder on WWE programming, just tune into SmackDown on Friday night. I mean, look, Roman didn't say that, but it's certainly how I felt at the time. And now, I would like to issue an apology to WWE. And I am more than happy to do this. I really, really am. I have no problem being wrong. In fact, I'll write it down.
Dear WWE, thank you so much for giving me a clean finish in the match between Asuka and Sasha Banks. I just want you to know, I really appreciate it, and now I love you. I love you so much, I cry tears when I go to sleep at night, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Simon Miller.
That's right, Sasha Banks versus Asuka. No nonsense, no stupid run-ins, no Bayley, no Carmella, just some hard-hitting wrestling action that made you go, oh boy, do I love sports entertainment. Now, this did end with the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up. But as I said on SmackDown, you can utilize this finish in the right fashion. The problem with it is when you do it over and over and over and over again, you ruin it because it gets boring. But we can't just ignore it. We have to bring down the board. That is now 92 since March 2020, so we're definitely going past 100 before the end of the year. But this is what went down. Like, Asuka was in control. She looked like a champion. She looked like nobody was ready for her. But then she got surprised by the pin, 1, 2, 3, and afterwards was like, well, holy shit, what am I meant to do now? So yeah, right there, if you had done less of these, this would have had an even bigger impact. And as for the match itself, it was just faboo. Like, Sasha Banks went for a Meteora off the barricade, and Asuka turned it into a code breaker. Then she was hitting other code breakers in the ring for the close near fall. These two have such amazing chemistry, I'm surprised it's not taught in school. So you should go out of your way to see this, and it was just so smart, because Sasha Banks needed a big win, she needed to cement her title reign, she needed to prove she can hold on to the belt, and even though it wasn't on the line, she can kind of go, ha ha, it would have done otherwise. This was WWE at their best. And it just baffles me when sometimes they go in the other direction. Just take this and copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. It will work forever. Right, with all that said, we now have to go over there when we were sat over here. Because if you haven't watched Retro Ups and Downs for Survivor Series 1990, please do after this. But we went into heavy detail about the debut of the Gobbledygooker, which, yes, somehow did arrive the same day as The Undertaker. So I suppose deep down he was always going to make an appearance, but my word is getting it down. Now, do not forget that this trolled the WWE Universe before they were the WWE Universe for months. So it's not like it's a good thing, but during the pre-show, the stupid giant turkey not only arrived at the building, but he pinned R-Truth for the 24/7 title after he got distracted by Tozawa. I mean, what the flub? Anyway, at this point during the main show, this stupid creation got distracted by Birdseed. So even in this scenario, WWE couldn't help themselves but do a distraction, and that allowed Tozawa to roll up the Turkey Man, whatever you want to call it, to become the champion, and then of course R-Truth rolled up Tozawa. 1, 2, 3, he is once again your 24/7 title holder. How many times do I have to say it? You're outside your house and you Google map to your own house, so you wind up where you began to begin with, which makes no sense. Also, this means, within the world of kayfabe, or to you as a viewer, you're meant to think the Gobbledygooker is a real bird because it got distracted by seed. Human beings don't get distracted by seed. If you put seed on the floor here now, I'm gonna go, oh, 1 second, I'll do ups and downs, I gotta eat some seed. So literally, the Gobbledygooker is real. I don't know why I get so wound up by this thing, it's just shut. It was then time for the Team Raw versus Team SmackDown women's match, which of course was Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Lana, Peyton Royce, and Lacey Evans, and they were taking on Bianca Belair, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, Natalya, and Bayley. Now look, there was something we should have done here, and at first it seemed like we were going to, but then about 4 minutes in, we took a detour, and I still can't understand why. I just think we told the wrong story here. Down. Because this whole thing should have been designed to make Bianca Belair look like a hero. She's your star, she's your up-and-coming performer, she's the one you need to put the rocket on, so she should have just beaten up everybody in Team Raw, and I don't think it would have mattered because, again, much like the men's team, the women's Team Raw, they were falling apart at the seams. And that started well because she was throwing around Peyton Royce like she was a pillow, and her and Natalya were like doing squats as they held her up in the air. It looked really, really impressive, and if you'd never seen Bianca Belair, you'd have been like, oh wow, I'm gonna keep an eye on this person. The issue though is that the focus then moved on to Lana, and I just don't think that whole narrative is working, and that's not Lana's fault. She's just doing what she's been told, but who cares that she's been thrown through a table 47,922 times. And here, after she had got in and screwed up, she tagged back out, and Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler were like, you're not allowed to do anything else, so she just stood on the ring steps and looked really sad. And the idea, of course, is to turn her into a sympathetic babyface, but it's not working. If you do want to turn her into a sympathetic babyface, everybody should go and watch the documentary that WWE did on Lana on the WWE Network. Oh my word, it will break your heart. Just take that and paste it in front of the world. Also, while we're on that subject, Lana, don't watch this, but in case she ever does, ignore all the haters, ignore all the nonsense, ignore all the stupid things that come out of people's mouths. You're a WWE superstar. You've already won. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You're living the damn dream. But that aside, Peyton Royce eliminated Bayley, which I didn't see coming, and for some reason the former SmackDown Women's Champion felt like an afterthought here. And then Peyton Royce was gone when she tapped to the sharpshooter, and then Lacey Evans gave Natalya the women's right, and Natty was gone too. And there was one point too when the Southern Belle gave a Spanish fly to Bianca Belair, and the Riot Squad broke it up. So in terms of what we saw, Lacey Evans was actually able to beat Bianca. What the hell are we doing? There was then some nonsense where Peyton Royce was going to beat Shayna Baszler, but Shayna Baszler had a move on the referee didn't see, and that knocked Ruby Riott out, so Shayna Baszler was able to pin her. And then Liv Morgan got rid of Lacey before being eliminated almost instantly, courtesy of Nia Jax. This was then set up perfectly once again because it was Bianca Belair, and all that was left across the other side of the ring was the tag team champions and Lana. And I was like, get 'em, Bianca, you go whoop their ass. Did that happen? No, it did not. Shayna Baszler got DQ'd when she wouldn't release the Kira Fuda clutch within the count of 5, and then Nia and Bianca Belair fought so long on the outside, they got counted out. What a lame finish, and it also meant, despite being banned from getting in the ring and doing nothing, Lana was the sole survivor, and she celebrated like she'd actually won the match for real. That's not what a babyface would do. Now, I will say that it worked on a teeny little level, because I did feel kind of warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum to see Lana get a little something. Of course, Nia Jax was super mad, but ultimately, this isn't going to help anyone. We haven't made a star here, and it will be forgotten about in around about 72 seconds. And I'm sure I am being a little bit more negative than was needed, but coming out the other side, once again, we're kind of in the same position that we were. Why even bother to do it in the first place? What followed, however, was Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns. And I think WWE, I mean they kind of already are, should just build the company around these two guys. Like they fought at WrestleMania a couple of years ago with the roles reversed, and that was nothing. But here, as Roman Reigns is the bad guy and Drew McIntyre is the good guy, it was flippin' Fabu up. We did whatever we had to here to make sure this felt like a big match, including turning the volume up, but that's cool, whatever works. And I was so pumped, I was so hyped, and I couldn't call who was gonna win. I was like, ooh da lally, WWE, you've done it. This is what I want from my, main events. And in the early going too, Drew was the better man, which absolutely stunned Roman Reigns until he grabbed the Scottish Psychopath and just threw him into the steel stairs. The great leveler. The point from there, though, is that Drew always found a way to fight back valiantly, even though the tribal chief would cut him off, and some of the near falls they pulled out of their ass. I mean, Drew did the Future Shock DDT at one point, and honestly, the ref went 1, 2. His hand must have been here. It must have been that close, and Roman kicked out at not even the last second. I don't even know the scientific term, it couldn't have been closer. McIntyre even reversed a spear into a Kimura, which obviously had mad callback vibes to Brock Lesnar, and WWE has to stop pretending that tapping out makes you an embarrassment. Michael Cole was shouting, how humiliating, will this be for Roman Reigns? Tapping out to a legit move is no joke. You should be putting that over like Rover. Anyway, at this stage, I was like, oh, here comes The Miz. I bet he comes out with his briefcase. But once again, I was totally wrong. But after Drew finally hit the Claymore with so much force, it knocked Roman Reigns into the referee, which took him down. Out came none other than Jey Uso. I was like, Jey, you shouldn't be here. Roman sent you home, definitely not to sit at the table. McIntyre was still the undefeatable babyface because he just knocked Jey Uso out right away. But unfortunately, that allowed Roman to slam him right in the dick, right in the balls. Jey Uso was then back, hit the super kick, and you could just see the writing on the wall. This really got under the skin of Roman, so not only did he hit the Superman punch, but he locked in the guillotine, but our WWE champion, he didn't tap out, he didn't submit, he passed out, and finally, all this was done, and Roman Reigns looked absolutely spent. These two are the perfect fall to one another. We have something here. To the point, just kill the brand split. Try and make this like Rock and Austin. I mean, it's not at that level yet, but my word, does it get me excited. Jey Uso got a hug after this, so he has literally just saved his life, so wipe the sweat off your brow. And Drew couldn't have looked more livid if he tried. If the plan is not to do a mega rematch down the line, then we are all crazy. There is money in this feud. This honestly was top stuff though, and it made me happy to be a wrestling fan. You know, going back in the day, Katie Vick and people electrocuting testicles, that does not make me feel the same way, so you can put a smile on my face. And then next, we said goodbye to The Undertaker. Maybe, I don't know. He's retired so many times now, I have no idea if he is gonna come back, but even if he does, I'm gonna level with you. I don't care. The man has been doing this 30 years. If he wants to wrestle until he's 103, I say, you know what, Taker, you wrestle till you're 103. As long as it makes you feel warm and fuzzy in your tum-tum, I support you. Like if I get to my mid-50s and I'm still doing ups and downs and someone goes, I don't think you should do it anymore, Simon, I will ignore them and I'll do it twice as much. I'm also not sure what people expected here, because we had those that were disappointed that we didn't get a big angle, but these were the same individuals that are screaming for The Undertaker to hang it up, so you couldn't win. Just go round and round in a circle. It was hilarious in the sense that before all this kicked off, we had the entrances of Triple H and Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair and Savio Vega and the Godwins and poor Kane, who had to come out in his ring gear. He wasn't allowed to come out in a suit. But by the time we cut to a video package for Undertaker and then snap back, Vince McMahon was just in the ring and all these legends were gone. So I was like, okay, well I guess Vince has drunk their blood and eaten their souls just so that he can survive for a little bit longer. McMahon was also pretty emotional here, which is a rare thing to see on WWE TV. Kind of got me right there in the heart. And it was up to him to introduce the dead man. We then had some Undertaker music that sounded like it was playing from a Game Boy, but then that transitioned into the proper Undertaker entrance, and man, if that's the last time I see it, I will never get bored of it. I know it goes on forever, and you could probably run laps for about an hour and come back and it would still be going on. I think it's the best. And after that too, he pretty much got the microphone and said, yep, I'm gonna go rest in peace. Thank you very much. And once again, what did you want him to do? Did you want him to go, oh, I'm the Undertaker, rest in peace? Also, hi there, my name's Mark, had a great 30 years. Thanks so much for watching me. I'll see you on Cameo. I mean, the backlash that would have got too. There was also this cool bit where Undertaker did the kneel, the bow, the salute, whatever you want to call it, and a holographic image of Paul Bearer appeared on the screen. That kind of made me feel emotional too. And yeah, it was super cheesy, but I like cheese, it tastes delicious, and I love this. Taker then took his leave and likely will be back when we can have a Hall of Fame with proper fans to cheer him off. And that's all good, that's all fine, and let's just believe him, let's call a spade, and even if he does this again, I'll always do it, because it's the flipping greatest character ever, and again, 30 years as a wrestler, I can't even fathom it. So, no, it wasn't the best thing I've ever seen, but in terms of his career and all of this wrapped up into one, it doesn't just get an up, it gets a golden up. Which brought us to the end of the Survivor Series, and I will say this, every match was pretty decent, every match was pretty fun, I was never bored, and it only went 3.5 hours, but in terms of stakes and consequences, this nothing. It meant absolutely nothing, because now I bet they even separate Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre, what was pure fire, but even still, I did have a good time. I may even go watch some of it again, because I'm a nerd, it's getting it up. Now don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about the Survivor Series. Like, share, and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com, read articles about the Survivor Series. Teach your brain everything you need to know. Follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE, and then you can be updated about the fallout from Survivor Series, and you can watch more videos here, much like retro ups and downs for Survivor Series 1990. Relive the last 30 years. Or relive one night, but just do it. My name is Simon from WhatCulture. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you tomorrow when we up those downs for Raw. And I bet they don't even mention the Survivor Series.